Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Demonologist Carl Johnson is in the house. Coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghostorian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-host is Victoria Monday, and down in the chat room, Alina moderating the chat. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Carl Johnson is in the house, renowned demonologist, author. Have his book Shadow Realms right here. It's been on many of the various television shows, and he is part of the Shadow Dimension docu-series that we filmed last September, at least that part of it, that segment, and is going to be released here hopefully next month is what we're looking at. So, I was really hoping that we were going to have that release. That was the original plan, to have that release when Carl came on the show, but it isn't so. So we'll talk some things about the Shadow Dimension and what we were doing out there last September, but we cannot divulge everything just yet. So, Carl, there he is. You fell out of the screen for a moment.
I was turning on my lights. Hi there. As I was explaining to you a few minutes ago, as we were doing our warm up, I'm doing well, and was not doing well a month ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago.
February. You had a real tough bout with COVID.
Yes, I did. It was more than I anticipated. I figured after the first 10 days I'd paid my dues, it was time to start getting over it. Then it went on for 2 weeks, and I said, well, I guess, I'll build up some antibodies. And after a month, I wasn't sure I was going to recover from it. It went on for 10 weeks, actually, with some dwindling symptoms. I can't say I recovered overnight and felt better, but I did get remarkably better after that 10 weeks period. It's been lingering, but it's almost gone. I don't know if I have allergies now or lingering symptoms, or if it's a combination, but it's very, very mild now. I can function.
Glad you're better. Yeah.
I'm not always aware.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Definitely glad that you're better. We were worried about you there for a while, because that had really hit you hard, and it was lingering so long. So we're happy you are in much better health and spirits these days.
Thank you. I had to tell, actually realize that I might not have come through it at times. And I was actually thinking of you, Mike. I was saying, how is Mike going to take this? What's the paranormal community going to say? They'll have tributes for me and everything.
My heart would have been broken.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was rough. And I was thinking, but it's strange the things you think of at those times. Am I going? I really didn't know if I would pull through, because there's so much unknown about it. I thought I probably would, but I had to doubt at times, because it was just I would seem to get better, and then I would have a relapse. So, and it's hard to find your courage and fortitude at those times, because you don't know what to draw on. I'm not ready. I'm to go. I certainly don't want to leave life this way, in this kind of illness. So, but the flip side is now I'm celebratory now that I've recovered. It's like, fresh lease on life. So appreciative of friends and family and everything. And just seeing the sunshine in the morning,
Absolutely. Well, we gave you a nice tribute during that time on the Shadow Dimension Facebook page. We put up a bunch of photos of, our time that we had back in the fall in September there at the Conjuring House and Slater Mill, and because we had such a great time out there that week.
We did, yeah. I don't understand if I didn't go follow through with all the thank yous and thanks for the well wishes, because I was fun. I was in bed holding up my tablet like, nice, very nice. I want to sleep more.
Right,
like that.
So let's start talking about it. So I was out there in Rhode Island when during that spell last year in which COVID seemed to be waning a little bit before it reared its ugly head again back in the later fall. And I was there that weekend of September 20th, and we did a number of different things. And one of those, of course, was the what everybody refers to as the Conjuring House these days.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a very interesting investigation there. We had historic research there from Elise, and I love this picture of you and Elise. And I'm kind of holding the papers there. It's like the two of you in action.
Aha! We make a team. I will say that. And you notice there's a pheasant up on the wall too. Hung up there.
There is.
It's upside down. Does that mean something?
Well, yeah, they used to hang them to let them get a little gamey for a week or so. And, they'd hang them upside down like that. But I think that was a long time ago for that. I think that's quite desiccated now, that pheasant. Yeah, we do look like a team there. They're very serious investigators there. Well, Elise she's my para partner and Panorama Paranormal and other ventures. She's done so much research on that house. Elise will always underplay what she does. She's modest in that way, but she went to town on that. I was helping the current homeowners, Corey and Jen Heinzen, out. Finding out some of the true history of the research, apart from the myth of what had happened there. And there was a lot of myth associated with that house.
Yeah, that was one of the great things that Elise had done when we were filming. I sat down with her, and she handed me a bunch of those documents that are in my hand in that photo. So I still have those here. Yeah, and so she cleared up a lot of the misconceptions about that location, which you're very familiar with as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Elise is a realist with her research. She's not looking to find the ghosty. She's not into that. She wants to learn. She wants to know the truth, and she'll drive for that. And she can be merciless sometimes. I mean, she's not a rabid party pooper, but that's what people call her sometimes. I'll give you an example of Elise. Elise is the one, and this really happened. Elise is the one, people say, do you notice every time we mention that name or we mention Bathsheba, that the lights start to dim? You notice that? I mean, that's happening. It's getting darker in here. Elise goes over and screws in the light bulb properly. And she doesn't do it in a mean way. She doesn't go, see this. She just goes over and screws it in. And, okay, why didn't anybody else think of that? But that sums up Elise's approach right there. She will look for the truth behind it, because why imagine when you're not going to enjoy your results if you're not sure of them. But there's I think the history of that house. We're talking about the house on Round Top Farm, right. Also known as the Conjuring House. That's rustic. That's very much what it looks like now. That's it. Yeah, a current picture, and you don't need to make up history for that house or rely on the movie Falderal. The house is so fascinating in its own. It was built in 1736, and it's Providence, Rhode Island had only been founded a century before, and there's so much to it. And yes, there is paranormal activity. I think Mike and I can attest, and but you don't need to believe that it's like so haunted it would drive people out or there's a demon within. It stands on its own as a piece of history, American history, and just a fascinating place to explore. Spooky.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And there's a palpable energy about the place, and we kind of discussed that a little bit. And something that I want to do here, real quick, Carl,
sure.
Since we're going to be talking about the project that we were working on while I was out there.
Right.
I do want to play the trailer for the Shadow Dimension to give people a taste. Yeah. Have you seen it yet?
I saw the trailer once. Yes, I did, but I would like to see.
Okay. Yeah, and we started off with your voice. You have that really deep, resonant, fantastic voice.
Voice a couple of months ago was a little touch and go about that voice. Good to see you. Good to be anywhere.
All right, so we'll go ahead and play it here, real quick.
There's a kind of a hallway connecting the bedrooms. Coming down that hall was something Something, I want to say black, but it was more like the absence of vision, something dark. My first thought was there's a fire in the house, and I'm going to smell smoke. It was somewhat rolling towards me, but formless, just darkness. As somebody had erased reality.
Thank you. I have to sit down for a minute.
You okay?
Can you take the camera from me?
Yes, certainly. Certainly. What's the matter, Mike?
Something over here, I don't know.
I just think it's getting darker in here.
I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and there was this tall, dark figure standing in the corner of my room.
What is this? Who are they? I tend to think they're from another dimensional space.
I call it a gravitational distortion.
Whoa!
Pointing right at the hole.
It's all right over here.
That's right. This is where the energy is.
I think this is kind of an opening to another reality.
So you can see all these connections that are interwoven.
I have frequently described as a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse.
That's the bedroom in which I had the experience when I was about 8 years old.
Amare Ea Glaforga.
It had red, glowing eyes.
And that smoke came forth, something in my face walking in here.
I think something's happening here.
All right, there it is. So
Impressive.
that should be coming out next month.
Next month now. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I know there was some stalling with it, you know.
There was, because originally I was just going to go straight to Amazon with it, and then like a month before I was set to do all that, because I was in post-production and everything, they changed all their policies, and so basically no independent documentary filmmakers are getting anything up there right now. And even talking to like the some of the big distributors and aggregators, they're like, yeah, they're not taking anything from us right now, because I guess they're revamping their policies or their terms or whatever they're doing. So I've had to find other distribution now, which delayed things. But thank you so much for helping on that.
Oh, it was my pleasure from start to finish. I mean, going into a setting like that, it's going to be a good documentary. We've done our research and we can talk about it, but you don't know if anything really out of the ordinary is going to strike while you're there. You hope something will happen. And it did. It struck Mike, as a matter of fact. Mike was affected.
That's true.
Oh, we all felt it. We all did. We all are experiencing activity there. In fact, we were going to stay I think we were going to planning for under an hour. And it's like, no, we're not going yet. This is getting good. Stuff's happening here. Anything from noises and thumps to just feeling overwhelmed, like a wave washing over us. But all the while feeling we didn't want to leave the place. It's welcoming. For some reason, we don't want to leave yet. There's something around the corner. There's something we have to find here. Just have that sense about it. Yeah, it's an eerie looking old place, because it is old. It's an old farmhouse. So naturally you'd feel something there, I think. But what we felt was, it's difficult to describe, a presence. Like the house had a personality. Just that overwhelming sense that we didn't want to leave yet. There was something to do there. We weren't sure what that was. But,
yeah, I've been in a situation like that before. And like you said, it was getting darker than dark. It was, I don't know, I've never seen darkness that dark, but it felt very peaceful. Like I'm supposed to be part of this. And so I just kept hanging around. And I don't know. Like you said, it's welcoming. It is. It's weird. It's hard to describe.
And not to make a mountain out of a molehill, but it was getting that. We weighed all the factors, like is the light outside affecting our vision? Is there something like that, or do we look at something bright? But no, it was uncanny. The three of us were agreeing on it. I think Elise at the time was downstairs going through the library, doing more research. While we were busy upstairs.
She was hitting the books while we were upstairs.
Yeah,
and this was the big room in question here. At that middle bedroom.
Yep. That's where we started to feel it, to be sure. I mean, and we are not the only team or the only researchers who have experienced something there, right in that room. That's where
that room and right on the other side of that window.
and that's on the other side is where you had to sit down for a while. And yeah, it happens in there.
Now, Andrea described it once as a portal disguised as a farmhouse. Is it the entire property, or is it just certain areas?
Well, a lot of it over
rooms?
the last 45 years, I think it's been more of a farmhouse disguised as a portal. I think because it's had so much notoriety. But I know what she's saying there. You know, that's actually a very interesting way that she puts it, because people get, I almost want to say sucked in, but you know, drawn in to that house. Some people leave that house feeling all depleted, like, oh, gee, I don't know what happened to me. I'm lightheaded. What is going on there? Other people say, you know, I felt so warm and so welcome there, but virtually everybody agrees it's an interesting experience to be in that house. You feel it's a displacement. That's how I'd put it. Yeah,
is
you
it
could
just the house, or is it the land too?
Oh, the land somewhat too, because we've hiked around the land, the property and all. It's just, you feel you're in a different reality when you're in that, you know, on that property. Being upstairs, I think, was the most profound experience we had there. You can feel it and hear things downstairs, but when we go upstairs, a whole different territory. There's, of course, my story of the magic mirror there.
There is, right.
There it is. That's the mirror. That was when Corey and Jen Heinzen had the closing on the house nearly 2 years ago in June that year, 2019. I went there and I wanted Elise to see that. Elise had not, well, she'd been in that house years before, but not any paranormal investigation. So we went there and I introduced her to the Heinzens. And as I was wandering around the house, congratulating the new owners, I saw that rectangular mirror, that large mirror. I think that's the same mirror that was there when the Perrons owned this house, you know, Roger and Carolyn Perron, or Perron, some people say. And I said, yeah, that looks like, I think Norma Sutcliffe, the successive owner, she kept that in place. I just got to go look in that mirror. I haven't looked in that mirror in 40 years. And when I looked at it, I had a distortion. I'd like to think I'm not prone to imaginings, visions. But I saw myself as I looked 46 years before, right in that mirror. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? I was sure if that I called someone from the next room, it would vanish. They wouldn't see it, or they probably wouldn't. But I was there for about a minute and a half, just looking at my reflection. See, I don't know how long this will last, but I'm analyzing this objectively. I was seeing my reflection as I looked 46 years before. I was 18 years of age again in my reflection, but my image was moving as I moved. I had my modern red polo shirt on, but I had long hair, shoulder length hair, just looked young. I'm looking at myself from all those years ago. How is this happening? I started.
There you are from those years ago.
That's what I saw in the mirror. Yeah. Looking rather amazed. Yep. There I am with, and that lady in the middle is the elegant Lorraine Warren. There's another photograph that Donna, who is the case manager of the team, our investigative team, she's the one in the white top. And the lady whose features are somewhat wiped out, that's Carolyn Perron. Donna has another picture of her that's much clearer, though. And that's Lorraine Warren when she first came to the house, she and Ed, her husband Ed. So I saw myself as I looked there, and it was bizarre. I said, I know I'm seeing this. Just let me remember, I did not dream this up. It's really happening. Boy, what a letdown it was when I went into the bathroom and they had this long mirror there. It's like, okay, now I see reality. I saw a former reality. Now I see the current reality. And,
well, if all time exists at the same time, you know,
it does in a sense. Quantum speculation, which Elise can tell you. The more you read about it, the less you know. You don't learn more about it. There's so much speculative. But I mean, that was a real experience. It still allows me to think of it. And there are time slippages in that house. Carolyn Perron experienced that back in the early 1970s. She came into that same room, saw a table with men in antique clothing sitting there with pewter tankards. They looked at her, she looked at them. I think for a moment, Carolyn Perron was the ghost to them. Like,
Yeah, it's an amazing story.
who was that slim wench, with little clothing? they just looked at her startled, and I think that was more than imagination. There are things that grab you in that house, and
we do have a couple of questions from the chat on that note. So Sarah Youssef, what do you think is happening at the Conjuring House? Some believe it's an interdimensional node where people can experience multiple timelines, and also, if I can find it down here, from Judy Wilson. Whoops, clicked the wrong one.
Me too, Pungai.
Do you think? Do you think it's a time portal?
Yes, I do. Yes, and yes. It's the house is a battery. There are many factors that could make it that way. Why are some old houses haunted and others aren't? I say haunted is a very general term. There's activity there. And many factors. It could be the geographic location of the house. Maybe it's, so to speak, at the right angle. It's receiving. It could be high concentrations of lime content in the soil or under the soil. And certainly a lot of granite and quartz. And the long history of the house, built in 1736. It's not that there was murder and mayhem in that house. No, certainly there was not. But it's at the right place. It could be on what we call a ley line. Integral factors making it a battery, making time distortions. And especially somebody who's intuitive or sensitive to such impressions, they're going to pick up on it first. I'm wondering if somebody could actually be lost in another dimension of time. I wonder if, the homeowners don't have any problem with that, but I wonder if I was there and now. I mean, I'm there often, but suppose I started touching that mirror, or like willing myself to go into another time. It worked on the Gothic soap opera Dark Shadows. They transcended time.
Dark Shadows.
Quentin
Collins. I'm a member of the Dark Shadows Appreciation Society. Yeah.
Get out.
I met Mr. Fridd. I met Jonathan Fridd, who portrayed Barnabas the vampire, Barnabas Collins. Yeah, one of the stellar moments of my life. But one storyline they had is they would go into a parallel time, and then they had the same actors portraying different characters in another time reality. But I think there's a time displacement there you can enter. I don't think you'll actually get trapped in it, but maybe your soul could get trapped, if you became obsessed with it. But I think you can peer into another time. If you don't actually see it, you can feel it, you can experience it somehow. And I think that's what happened to me with the mirror. Now, Mike looked in the mirror, and I think his features just kind of distorted and blurred. He didn't necessarily get younger, but something weird was going on with that. And Elise looked in the mirror and said something strange was happening. Naturally, if you stare at the mirror long enough, it is. There's something weird about that mirror. Hope they don't auction it off.
How old is that mirror? I mean, does it have like a silver backing to it? Or?
It's at least 50 years old, and I believe it does have a silver backing to it, like the old mirrors do.
Yeah.
I didn't dare to pick it up and look at it because of drop it or something. The cursed mirror, but it's just a cool thing to have there. I mean, you can say the light coming in from the window can do something to your vision or something, but I ruled all that out. It was a strange. If it was an optical illusion, it was a darn interesting one for me.
Well, you don't have hair down to your shoulders these days, Carl.
No, I kind of have the Ben Franklin look if I tried that. Yeah, but no, there were some definite. No, I knew I was thinner. I was just better looking, younger. It was just eerie. I mean, see myself as I looked when I first came into that house. Maybe the house remembered me because I came there when I was 18 years of age. That's when I first went there.
Maybe you really were back 40 years and you were just seeing yourself then currently as you were seeing yourself now.
There was a blending.
Because you were back there,
Yeah, there was a blending of the two. I think it drew on some evanescent remnant of when I was there. Mm-hmm. Because I experimented with it. I was not aware of what was going on. I could move, and however I turned, my reflection mirrored me and did the same thing. I looked younger. I haven't been able to repeat it. I've tried since then under the same conditions. It just didn't happen.
With the same mirror or just in general?
Same mirror.
Okay.
Same mirror, same place, same house.
Interesting.
And at that time of day, early sunny afternoon, like around 12:30 p.m. and just couldn't replicate that same effect. However, I tried.
That's cool.
Now, I bet you if I stared at that mirror for 5 minutes without blinking, I bet you I'd get some kind of distortion. Something
Bloody
felt
Mary,
weird.
Bloody Mary,
Yeah.
Bloody Mary.
Oh yeah, the old fable. That was a fun game.
It could be the original Bloody Mary mirror. Could be that old.
Well, we guys didn't play that game. That's a girly thing. That's
true too. Yeah, guys really didn't play that.
We did other things like walk around cemeteries and things.
But we did that. We also did light as a feather, stiff as a board. I guess you guys didn't do that. But
we did that recently.
We
That was
did
at
it
a
as
paranormal
kids.
festival. Yeah. Over at the S.K. Pierce House in Gardner, Massachusetts. I was there 2 weeks ago, and we tried that experiment. Marginal kind of work. Somebody did become lighter. I know with time, if we'd given it more time, the person would have become notably lighter. But then a rather hefty guy sat on the bed. I said, "Oh, we're not gonna try this again, are we?" No, but we had fun with that night.
Yeah. Now we would get people to levitate off the floor a couple of feet, and then the girl would wake up and she'd fall. Oopsie.
Yeah. Then they think, oh.
Yeah, shouldn't have opened your eyes.
Interesting party games. What do you think about table tipping, though?
Oh,
I don't think that's been done at the Conjuring House, the house in Harrisville. Not that I was there, but I've seen table tipping. Jury's out on that. I think people want it to happen so much that they kind of make it happen that way. Being sincere, it only takes a little bit of tipping to make that table fall, and gravity takes over and pushes it around. And also PK activity, psychokinetic force, comes into play, and it will propel the chair around. All explainable, but still rather mysterious and impressive.
Yeah, we did that a few years ago, and the table actually took off across the room. And I know the lady, she wasn't doing it because she was an older lady, kind of overweight, and she had a knee brace on, and she made the table go. So,
well, good for her.
Yeah, that was exciting.
First time I experienced that was 1972 at Rhode Island College. The investigative team that went to that house in Harrisville all those many years ago, we would have guest speakers, and one guy was demonstrating table tipping, and then so this is real. I don't know how it works, but it's happening. By the way, you notice the setting I'm in. I was surrounded by file cabinets and all that. I am at the headquarters of the Johnston, Rhode Island Historical Society, of which Elise Carlson is president. Elise Gianmarco Carlson is president of the society. And there are documents that are mid-18th century, some of these. It can be difficult to do. It's in the process of being reorganized. We have someone who's doing archives now. But if you're looking for an article or doing some research in this place, you go rabbit trailing so easily because you open something up. Oh wow! It's struck by lightning. Oh yeah, Arnold. And you find old family names, and you just want to read what you've got in your hand. So we all get trapped by that sometimes.
Yeah.
So is Elise around to discuss a little bit about the misconstrued history about the house?
I wouldn't.
We discussed that a little bit earlier if she was going to.
Well, she said she would bop onto the message board, but she was pretty tired. She did some very physical work today. I'll tell you what she was doing. She's a cemetery conservator, among her many other interests.
That's right.
Elise, she doesn't just dust off stones and take notes. Elise was moving headstones, tombstones around today. She was digging them out, picking them up, and putting them in their rightful place. I mean, she's restoring an old cemetery. Well, they're all historic, but these are graves from the turn of the 19th century. Some infants who were born and died in the 1700s. So she's doing a lot of research on this, but she's a hands-on researcher. She's digging up the stones and setting them. Many of them had fallen over. She even dug one up out of the earth and set it up. So that's what Elise was doing with her morning, and she just keeps busy all the time. She's always doing something for somebody. So she's probably a little tired. She might have already gone to bed.
Right.
I think
I did see her down in the chat a little earlier.
Good.
So we do.
She said she would be in the chat in the beginning. She did send me a text message saying she's not going to make an appearance tonight.
Okay. All right.
That's
fine. No problem.
Let's do a show with her.
Yeah, there you go. So speaking of headstones, one of the sad things nice segue. Speaking, there's a tragedy associated with the house and the the grave of Bathsheba Sherman, where they
Yes,
have,
there is.
there was so much vandalism to that headstone that they have now completely removed that, which is absolutely terrible.
Yes, the tragedies that befell Bathsheba Sherman, Thayer Sherman, uh, they occurred after her death because she was maligned, her reputation. She was equated with being a demon witch, as far as the movie said, and that's what Ed and Lorraine Warren labeled her. That there was an evil presence in the house, and they needed a name, so they came up with Bathsheba Thayer Sherman, who was a real personage, neighbor. And her stone has been chipped away. When the movie was released, and they, talk about her in the movie, they started chipping away at people. Started randomly chipping away at the stone. That was happening even before the advent of the movie, and it was so desecrated, and it's actually pulverized. It was finally restored by Carlo and Betty Mancucci, who are premier conservators. They pieced the stone together fairly seamlessly, but obviously it can't be returned to its spot. I mean, you can see where Bathsheba Sherman's grave is, and Elise has been there. But there's a plan to put in a substitute stone, not too much of an expense. So the old stone, of course, is irreplaceable in a larger sense. It's Bathsheba Sherman stone. So that's put away someplace, undisclosed location, so nobody can chip away at it anymore. My brother was appalled, Keith, when he went to see it. He said, "Oh, Keith went to see it about 8 years ago," and he was like, "Oh, this is terrible." And they torn it, they pulverized it. It was chipped away, and then it was just in pieces, a pile of stone. But the Mancucci's put it together. They're a president and I believe vice president of the Burrillville Historical Society. And they actually are professional conservators and stone restorers.
Oh,
they pieced that together like a puzzle, and they got it. So we won't be able to see it, but that's fine with me. I have seen it, and
I have photos of it from a few years ago when I was there, and it had already been like broken into like these big chunks, put back together and replaced there on the site, and so I was able to see it then, and it has since been removed. But for safekeeping. We have some other questions coming in from the chat. Speaking about the Conjuring House, our chat moderator, Alina, has a question here. Do you think people who spend enough time there leave a part of themselves there?
I think I did. Yes, I do. It's a very astute question. I think that people who have been there a while, I think the house remembers it. As I like to say, I don't think it's so much that the farmhouse is haunted as it is the haunting. It's the personality. It's almost like a living being. I think the house does have a memory through principles we can't quite understand. And I think the house will remember people if they made an impression there, if they've been there long enough, if it likes them. It tends to spit out people it doesn't like. Those are the people who get the migraines and feel sick to their stomach and wonder if there's something in the water and they have to leave. Other people have quite a pleasant experience. Most people do, and they want to return. I think that house does. I'm convinced that house does remember people. I think that's why I saw my reflection in the mirror. I mean, I tell it as like a funny story, but I really do think that house was telling me it remembered me.
Yeah, it's definitely extremely interesting with that mirror. A question specifically about shadow phenomenon. This from Sarah Youssef. Do you believe that our movements and actions are the cause of shadow phenomena in other dimensions?
I think shadow people are inextricably intermeshed with we living people on the earthly plane. I don't know. They're probably dependent on us for their existence. Case in point, they look like human beings just in shadow. I don't think we'll ever fully understand. I don't think we'll even get a good grasp on what shadow people are, what that phenomena is. But why do they resemble us? Why do they seem to have? Generally, sometimes they're formless. Other times, and generally, they look like persons, but being cast in shadow, and they dart around. They're in a different time frame. In fact, I wanted to tell you, especially Mike, that Elise and I were addressing a case in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, recently, as in last week, and the lady who rents there and her brother both witnessed the shadow person. They described the same thing to each other. Was going around the corner at the time. I mean, they throw everything we think we know about paranormal research and ghost out the window. There's something strange. I think they are connected to us. Sometimes they're even seen wearing clothing, shadow
Yes.
people, hats, cloaks, and I don't know what they baffle me. Yeah, but I think they are tied into. I don't think they could be something totally separate from us because they seem to resemble us too much. They have appendages, they have a torso, a trunk, a head. Other times they're just black and oozing things, which is what happened at the house in Harrisville. I don't know. Have you made up your mind, Mike, about them? You've written a book about them. You've spoken about them numerous times. You've traveled to research them. You came to Rhode Island to look up our shadow ghost.
Yeah, specifically to research them. And between Rhode Island, we did Slater Mill. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I went out to Mineral Springs where I've seen, kind of like you, Carl, the shadow smoke. And this was in 2019. And that shadow smoke actually morphed into the apparition of a little girl. So I think that there are a number of different things. I think some of them are human spirits. Some of them are interdimensional beings. Some of them could be ETs. It could be time travelers, like we were talking the time slips earlier. So I think that there are a lot of different things. I don't think we can attribute it to just one specific thing. I think that these are a number of different things that we're seeing from time to time as shadows.
I don't think we're supposed to see them. I don't think they're necessarily hiding from us, but I don't think, we just have the ocular propensity to see these things. And if they are close enough to us, they manifest and look human. But I think this is as much as our eyes can take in, or our mind's eye. We glimpse them, they're probably ghosts. And we see a distorted version of them. They don't quite crystallize for us. They don't become like living people to us, unless they're around long enough, and then they tend to look like people. But I think that's the rudiments of seeing a ghost, those shadowy forms, or maybe not.
We had one around us this weekend, Friday. I kept seeing him out of the corner of my eye, out the window, and I kept telling my friend, "There's something moving out there." And we kind of brushed it off, and so we were playing around, and she threw open the door, and she goes, "Who's out there?" And she had my little SLS camera. I'm like, "Oh!" And I saw it go by. And right when she did, the SLS camera picked it up too. So there was something out there. I don't know if he was just hanging around going, "Who's out here?" Because we were out in the woods, but that's where we're standing.
Victoria, I lose my interest in shadow people like UFOs. If I don't experience them, especially from long periods of time, well, they're nice to talk about, but what are they? Then I'll see one or think I see one, and then it's like I'm interested again. Okay, there was the shadow person.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of a shadow ghost also on the Slater Mill campus. As you know, Slater Mill, Mike knows, has been closed down, but it is recently, as of last week, has been officially acquired by the National Park Service. So they will eventually be opening for tours. I won't be part of that unless I just go there. Oh, the Wilkinson Mill is home to a bona fide shadow person. I can attest. People were talking about that before I saw it. When I first went there, people said there's a shadow person in there. They didn't even say shadow person. There's some shadow in there. There's a person, a gray man. It would scare people. It would freak them out. But also in the house, that's inside those walls. Never outside, but inside those walls. Those 3-foot thick rubble stone walls is the home of a shadow ghost.
One of the
Actually,
you gave me, Carl.
There's our photograph. It got caught. When shadow ghosts are photographed, it's always incidental. Now, this shadow over on the, from our perspective, the right side of the screen, that's actually the giant water wheel that powered the mill, and it was still functioning. But what you see back there, for the first couple of years I had that photograph, it's actually from a local newspaper, the Sun Chronicle. I thought it was the lady in the white top casting that shadow until I realized her shadow is underneath where the red arrow is. That's her shadow. Yeah, I can see the outline of her hair. And what is in back of her looks anomalous. And I went there and photographed, and when I saw that, the next day I was back there trying to get it. Is that some dark spot on the wall? Nope. Could not replicate that. To the best of my knowledge, there's our shadow person got caught in that. You can see its extended arm. I say he because it was only men employed in the water wheel pit back when that was a working mill. And it's an eerie picture, inconclusive, but it's like the thing looks like it's wearing a cloak and a hat. I don't know. It's just that's our shadow person. I have seen the shadow person 3 times, actually seen it. And there's a photographic imprint, and then we have another photograph of it that's less clear, but it's blocking out part of the photograph. In the another house on the grounds is the Sylvanus Brown House, a name for one of the people who was an architect for the mill, Slater's Mill, and that house was built in 1758. So there were at least 2 spirits in that house that we recorded or photographed and heard often, even with guests coming through the house and tours. Now, we were giving an evening tour once, and I and the lady, it was actually for somebody's birthday. It was their, birthday party, became a paranormal investigation. And I saw somebody go around the corner, and the lady who was, had booked the site for that evening saw it as well. Just somebody, innocuous, turning around the corner, going upstairs. Oh, no color to it, just something, black or dark. And I said, they're not supposed to go up there. That's off limits. And so the young lady went, yeah, you're not supposed to go up there. That's closed off. So I didn't hear anybody walking around up there. So I went upstairs and I had her come with me. Nobody was up there. And that was a shadowy form that just went around the corner, solid seeming. I actually thought it was somebody had wandered up there to the second floor, if you count the kitchen, the 3rd floor of the Sylvanus Brown House. So that's 2 areas where there was a shadow ghost. I don't think of the same shadow person, but that's another thing I saw that involved a shadow person at Slater Mill campus. I wish it was still open because we could do some.
Oh yeah, that was. I was looking forward to getting in there, but by the time we got out there last fall, they had closed it up, and we were able to walk around outside, but we couldn't get in, which was
well, same thing with me. I've heard just different stories about it. Supposedly, all the locks were changed. That's just something my key would have worked in there, but I didn't have the temerity to just walk in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, at that point, it would have been trespassing, so you don't want to do
you
that.
couldn't just jimmy open a window and push
It
them up.
I've seen people trying to do that I've watched them with a dull fascination from the gift shop when I was working there. And they're all dressed in black. They're obviously paranormal investigators. They got a recorder with them. They're trying every which way, and they're trying the windows. I'm just going to watch them because I know they can't get in. I mean, I'll get outside quickly if they tried, but if they try too hard. But I just figured we'd probably be ushered out if I opened a door to the wheel pit. But Mike,
you could say, I'm Carl. I'm Carl Johnson.
That has some clout some places, but I don't think it. Despite the fact that I was there for 14 years, I don't think I would be particularly welcome there. I don't know. It was the height of the COVID scare, so one of the heights.
Real quick, we have a $10 super chat from Tom McNicholas. He says, "Surprise, very cool. Carl's great." So thank you very much, Tom, for the $10 super chat. We absolutely appreciate that.
I'd buy that for $10, sure.
He's sneaking in from work to do that. So thank you, Tom.
Oh, he snuck in for work. Yeah, I just didn't do it. Yeah, but we might. Yeah, there's a possibility, Mike, that we could get to Slater Mill, but I would feel kind of strange because I would be a tourist. And I was on the other side of giving the tours for so long. But I would do it just so we could see that. They're usually pretty congenial.
It'd be interesting.
If we said, can we linger here and take some pictures, we could probably do that. Ghosts, they don't show up on cue. Also,
that's right. Yeah, you can't make it happen on demand. But I have a comment here out of the chat from Pungai Fungi. She says, "I wonder if all structures have a degree of self-awareness." And Carl, one of the things that you've said many, many times is that you believe buildings and structures can contain memories. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I think the structure of a building, the materials from which the building is constructed, can actually have memories, emanations encoded into those materials. Like the stone, the wood, the mortar. I think they absorb the memories, that it's vibrational, and under certain conditions, those memories are replayed, and then we have our ghosts. Like Lana Jan Brock, my co-author with Shadow Realms, she has written on that she has a theory that Well, matter is vibrational, and therefore it can be encoded. These vibrations can be encoded into a building, into the physicality, even the air of the building, and the presence of the building, the ether, if you will. And those memories are there. They're cogent. They're solid. You just have to hit the right vibration, like plucking the string of a guitar, musical chord. It vibrates. And when that happens, when that occurs, if you do it just right, even unintentionally, the ghost will appear, or the ghost will be aware, or seeming to be aware. They have a limited awareness. The ghost essentially exists for a time, and then it goes back into a state of non-existence. If you know what I'm saying, it's like an old record player or a CD or DVD. It plays itself, and it's real. It's aware for that limited span of time. Then it goes into stasis and non-existence again. But it's always there in a sense. That would explain some things that happen. But I think that's how it operates without giving too much of a technical explanation, which I don't have. I think that's what happens. If you get into something as minute as tachyons, which are particles that are so infinitesimally small that they go through matter. Like we have tachyons that come from our sun, from soul, that actually go through our bodies at any given time. And they are so small that they actually defy the laws of time. Like, the basic law of thermodynamics is that nothing can be created or destroyed by ordinary chemical means. The axiom about time is that nothing can reach or travel faster than the speed of light, except for photons. Well, that's true. I elaborate a little bit on that. Nothing can approach or travel faster than the speed of light until it does. Because under certain conditions, they do. Certain particles can transcend that barrier of the speed of light. The theory of the expansive universe. How did the universe, when it was born, after the Big Bang, how did it expand so rapidly, faster than light? Well, because it was in its own reality. It was in a containment. And in that reality, it could expand because it was creating the universe. It wasn't just putting it aside. So our laws of physics went out the window, or hadn't been born yet, I might say. So yeah, it's a freaky universe in which we live and move. So it's not too hard for me to imagine that there could be some remnant of former residents of a house that are played back in a home. And there's so much substance to these playbacks, these residuals, that they are aware of us at times. Some of them just go about their business. Some days they stop and look at us. Like when I was training in paranormal studies and parapsychology, we had these different and definite categories. There was the ghost, the human spirit, interactive, the residual, the atmospheric haunt, the playback. There was the interactive spirit, the intelligent haunt, which was a ghost that's aware of us, and the poltergeist, which they thought was just, created by a person, and then the demons, which we don't even need to talk about. Actually, my definition of a demon is a poltergeist with an attitude, and so I'll go with that for now. But I found out in my experience that these categories blur. They're not so definite after all. You can get a residual haunt, it goes about its business, just somebody who worked in an old mill, which I've experienced, they're seen. Or it's, a Civil War battle scene. You just see that reenacted, or a Civil War hospital, American Civil War. But if you observe these apparitions frequently or long enough, after a while they turn and look at you. They look at the spectator. They have at least a quasi awareness of us, and poltergeists, they do things that, like you think of poltergeists as just picking up and throwing things around, but poltergeists get very creative. Sometimes they can appear as a form, an apparition. Sometimes they have voices. Sometimes they play games like winding bed sheets around in the form of people sitting at tables. Poltergeists have an intelligence to them. They're not just PK activity and nothing else more, nothing more to them. So it's very indefinite. And I think that sometimes these ghosts come to life for a while.
That's interesting you say that about poltergeist, because I think a lot of the, terminology, the semantics of it has kind of gotten enmeshed these days because, a poltergeist, at least to me, is, a spirit that, like you're saying, is moving things around, manipulating things, maybe throwing an object. But PK activity, we've kind of attributed to poltergeist these days. But to me, that's okay. Somebody's PK activity that is acting out like a poltergeist. And so it's poltergeist type activity, but not necessarily a poltergeist itself.
That is to say, it's dependent on the person, living entity, living person. We wonder if people actually create the poltergeist. I don't think poltergeist pre-existed the human race, no, but like most ghosts, if not all ghosts, they seem to be dependent on human interaction, a human observing them, a human being there. Like, if people cease to exist, where would all our ghosts be? I think they'd be out of business. I think we produce the ghost, and I'm not saying we imagine them. I'm saying some part of our mind can conjure them, can make them real. They come from us. They're interdependent on us, and they wouldn't be around without us.
So it's a symbiotic relationship between the spiritual world and, I guess, our brain.
Our ghosts need us. Don't let them tell you otherwise. There's a lot of them are antisocial, but they depend on us. I mean, a ghost floating around a room like say Slater Mill, like the big museum area. Are those ghosts there when we're not? Maybe, but they're not doing a heck of a lot. I don't think they're socializing with each other. I think we need people to bring those out. And fond memories of Slater Mill. For somebody who's a paranormal enthusiast, researcher like myself, what a pleasure it was to, had its tedium and all that, but to work in a haunted setting. Granted, most days, most hours were business as usual, but we'd have a corporate dinner or a wedding reception hosted by the mill. And I'd be there at like 20 past 11 at night, and I'd hear the dunk, 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 your chairs being shuffled around. I'm not the last one out of the building. It was so definite. Every time I think the caterers are still there, somebody's still there. So I go, okay, what's our time frame? Nobody up there. And there's in that building that happened up there. You're shuffling around and moving and all that. And we'd be giving tours. I know I had the experience, and some of my coworkers did. Giving a tour in the middle of the day. Here, one example, two men speaking to each other. Couldn't quite discern what they were saying, like, blah, 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 but two men speaking. And so we stopped, and I guessed are looking around. I'd resume the tour. The two men start speaking again. I said, folks, you just get used to it after a while. But what a pleasure to work. I'm like, yes, another story. I wish it happened more often. Well, I was there a lot, so maybe that's why I experienced it. Just playbacks out of time.
Have you found there's like certain types of persons who would totally freak out when something like that would happen? And then there's like my friends and I who are like, well, that just happened. Okay.
Oh, yeah, let's grab it. Well, of course, I organized ghost hunts at the Slater Mill. That was a program I started, which really took off. And I started for Slater Mill. And they're almost like audience plants. You want people to be a little, that's the fun of it. It's like being on a roller coaster. You're not quite buckled in right. You don't know if am I going to go flying out of this thing? So it's fun to be a little scared under controlled conditions, and that's why the ghost hunts are so popular. And you get the serious like yourself, serious paranormal investigators that usually just wanted to document the experience and enjoy it. But some people, they'd freak out. What are you here for? If don't you want to be scared? Some of them like, oh God, oh no. Yeah, I was done. Exactly. I saw it. They walked in front. Exactly. I didn't even have to pay for this. It's almost like audience plants to have people like that. I like them when they would be like that. I would take full advantage of that. Like one time early in the ghost hunts, this goes back to 2008, and the ghost hunts had already been around for a couple of months. And it's like towards the end of October. And one young lady, she was there with her boy. It was a full room, but we kept the lights down. And I heard her talking. She said, quit it. She thought her boyfriend was touching the back of her neck. And then she saw, but she knows fingers, And then she saw he was at the other side of the room. She let out a scream like a horror movie. Boy, did I take advantage of that. I said, all right, everyone, remain calm. Move to the center of the mill. Now, miss, could you explain your experience? Share this. What did you just feel? And so that was gold. Moments like that, I just think, now I know why I do this.
Play to the audience. Yeah.
There you go. We have a
make up anything there.
True.
Comment here from the chat from Dark Horse Paranormal Productions. The tours were great. The history of the children working in that mill is chilling.
Oh.
Well, there's a grim reality to this. I mean, of course we had fun with the ghost hunts because, but you'd also have this feeling of like, this isn't right. It's damp, it's chilly in here. I mean, this is where people worked and children were maimed in the archaic machines. You just feel a kind of solemnity there. And you were always aware that this was the site of egregious accidents with work staff, especially children. It was a time when children as young as 8, some of them 6 years old, could work in the mill. Now that sounds horrendous, but it was just their way of life. And most days were okay, I'm sure. But there were terrible accidents. They happen now in workplaces. They certainly happened back then. And we thought we had the ghost of a little boy in with us. His name was Jacob. Jacob was interactive. Jacob would come out if I coaxed him. So I never lost sight of that this was a reality, that even if you don't believe in the paranormal phenomena or you attribute it to something else, this is where people lived and died, in this mill. I mean, this was the site of the inception of the American Industrial Revolution, in 1793. Right there in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So, wow, what a place to be. And to have the lights down low and illuminated by moonlight coming in, and you're actually on a ghost hunt and things are happening. Yeah. What an ambiance. What an ambiance. Yeah. It was
you were really bringing history to life, I guess you could say, in a way.
I was actually performing a service for people because I always did it respectfully. I always thank the spirits, please do not follow us. This is your place of work. I said, but we thank you. And I would always say to Jacob, I said, we hope you find the peace you are seeking. You seem a little lost to us. We think Jacob was a little boy there. Jacob came over an ovilus one, and I had been thinking of the name Jacob that day. Jacob keeps popping into my head. And then it produced Jacob. And somebody captured Jacob on an EVP and an audio recording. So I said, okay, we'll call on Ghost Jacob. He seemed to be a little boy because one phenomenon in Slater's Mill was a cold spot that would travel around, and it would start about 3 feet off the ground. It was definite. You put your hand in it, take your hand out. Yeah, there's something that feel a little tingly and electric. So that was child size. So we speculated that this is maybe we'll treat it as a little boy ghost. I don't know why I kept thinking it was a little boy and not a little girl. Until one evening, a lady at the ghost hunt took a photograph, and it was Jacob. It was the form. It looked like a doughboy.
Wow.
But it was a human form, compact like a child. You see the darkness where the eyes were. And I said, Miss, please, I'd be so appreciative if you share your photograph with me. Just send that to me at Slater Mill, or here's my email address if you want to use that. She's told me she would, but I never heard from her, never got the picture, but it was impressive. That's what would happen. Somebody would say, excuse me, Mr. Carl, I have a picture. I think I got something. I'd go over and say, everybody, come over and look. And you'd get you'd get spirit forms in their pictures, and you get recordings right there on the spot. I said, this is a success, It was they would have to stay late and, close up and count the money and everything. But what a joy, what a unique experience to have had that, to been able to have done that.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, with Jacob, there is a question in the chat on the Facebook side, not the YouTube side, but the Facebook side. How can you tell if they are actually children's spirits? That's from Sherry.
Again, speculating, guessing it's children's spirit because we knew the children worked there, and why not be children's spirits? They don't necessarily have to be a child who died in the mill, because I know that happened. I'm sure it was rare, but did happen because the children are working in all kinds of heat, hot conditions, accidents. but it became real because we interpreted many of these spirits as children. So maybe they actually, the spirits, whatever their source, maybe they became spirits for that. Maybe they became children for that limited time. Oh, they weren't all children, to be sure. That's why we believed that, when it sounded like a child and behaved like a child, we thought it played hide and seek with us, come up and tap people, tickle people. They weren't all lovable little lost children, because we had a wise guy. I called him Wise Guy. Give you an example. We were in that colonial cottage, the Sylvanus Brown house, and it was actually, it wasn't Halloween night. It was the night before. It was October 30th one year. And my brother and one of our guides, Jan, they were recording. My brother had his old faithful recorder, and he gave it to the recording for me to analyze it. So you definitely have a voice there, and it's male. So I'm listening to it. I turn up the volume, and it sounds like it's saying, "Don't rock the fork. Don't rock the fork." It doesn't make any sense. And so I listened to it again. I said, "Oh, that's not what it's saying." It's like they said, because my brother had said something, and Jan said something like, "We're going to leave you now." And then you hear the male voice. What it's really saying is, "Now what the,
fork, like a eating utensil.
I don't know if you do what they do on the paranormal, if you just bleep out cuss words or something, beep, but yeah. They weren't saying fork. They were saying something more vernacular.
Right.
Well, it used to be, back in the day, it was called, fuck, but changed the pronunciation a little bit. But that's modern talk. I mean, now what the, So I call that spirit Wise Guy. That's not a cute little girl or something,
Right.
And and while a colleague of mine from Black Cross Paranormal, Riley Black, was there, she was recording while she was walking in between the buildings, and somebody called her, like hot girl. So, I mean that these things, whatever they are, they don't have bodies, they don't have brains, but they've got senses of humor. They talk, they joke, they're ribald. They, cute girl, like, okay, you're not a little child who died in the mill. The fact that you get different personalities just blows my mind.
Right.
I love my ghostly community there.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. We are at the end of our show. There's one more question from the chat that I wanted to ask you, Carl, and this is from Betty. It was a lot earlier on, so I can't pop it up here on the screen.
Might be the Betty I know.
Yeah, Betty Lange.
No, I don't.
She asks, after COVID, has anything towards the paranormal changed for you?
Yes. Oh, yes. My appreciation of the paranormal, I don't feel so detached from it as I did. I had visitations that first week when I was terribly ill. Well, I mean, I was actually terribly ill. It was pretty terrible for me for a couple of months. And it's because it was something I couldn't shake. But as far as drawing me closer, I definitely had some transcendental experiences. It's not that I saw the light, but I did, yeah, because I had to contemplate my own mortality. I started dreaming of my parents, who are both now deceased. My mother died the year before, and at age 94, very nice life, and we were with her. Sad, but I'm so glad that my mother expired when she did, because if she had lived another 6 months, we couldn't have seen her. They would have diagnosed her with COVID, even if it wasn't, and she would have been isolated.
Right.
But I started to see my parents, and they looked younger. They looked vital and younger. And I started to see them as waking dreams, like they were on the other side of my bedroom door. Now you'd think that might be comforting, but for me, it's like, what are you guys doing here? I'm not ready to be ushered if that's why you're here. Right. And demons, I got to see some very distinct, disturbing substances or apparitions, whatever you want to call them. I think that's how my mind interpreted them, but voices and see these forms telling you to me I'm not going to pull through. It was, yeah. It just broadened my scope. It gave me more insight into them. I was on the edge. Now, there were people that were vastly more ill than I, but it was, uncertain because I didn't know. There's no manual to tell you, well, that we know more now.
Right.
We did even some months ago, but I didn't know where it was going to go. They couldn't tell me. And yeah, I did. I saw strange things in my bedroom, forms moving about. And I don't attribute all that to hallucination. I think I was seeing things because I was blending with another reality. I was in such physical distress that I wasn't filtering it. I think these impressions are around us. And I was more aware of them because I was just concentrating on, I just want to get well. That's what I want. I want to stop feeling this misery. And when you shut out, extraneous things that normal distractions, you start seeing other things. And I believe I was viewing other realities for a time. It heightened my awareness of other realms, other existences. I don't understand them any better, but I could perceive them better.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, my friend, for joining us this evening. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you as usual.
Oh, yeah.
And I am happy that you're feeling so much better.
Thank you. And I'm glad we got to reminisce. I mean, what an ordeal since I saw you and we just had a good time. I said, we're going to pack it up. We'll run out of time for all the things we wanted to do. And then I go through this dark passageway, this dark transition. And here I am again, a lot has happened since I spoke with you last.
It has. But you know what? We have a lot more to do. Before we go, can you please let everybody know who's watching and then listening later when this goes up as a audio podcast where they can find you?
I'm not too hard to find. You can find me through two websites. There is there's Duo Demonology with James Anito, and that's a simple handle. The link to that is www.demonology, spelt the regular way with a Y, demonology.org, or at let me see. Well, there's my Facebook page, and I'm with Panorama Paranormal with Elise Gianmarco Carlson, and that's a Facebook page. On Facebook, I'm probably the only Carl L. Johnson in the state of Rhode Island who's listed as a demonologist. There's Demonology Incorporated, and that's with HTTP, demonology.inc.wixsite.com /home. So you might have to do a little pecking around for Demonology Incorporated, but you try it a few different ways, you'll find it. And when in doubt, go to my Facebook page. I'm there sometimes. My email address for those of you with photographic memories or jotting it down is, I take questions through this email. It's carcosan@live.com, CARCOSAN at LIVE.com.
So be sure to check out Carl's book. You can grab this at Amazon. Shadow Realms Demonology Handbook. Fascinating read.
That's how it's titled. It's the handbook there. Yeah. So if you really want to find me, you'll find, or give Mike shoot him a line. He'll tell you.
That's true. You can just ask me and
hook us up. Yeah. I'm not that hard to find.
Yeah, you're not. You're easy to find. So, Carl, thank you very much, my friend. Absolutely appreciate it. And, continue. I know you're kind of at the tail end. We still got a little bit going on. So hope that clears up fully for you very soon.
An allergy now. Off and on. Yep. And maybe we'll have the lovely Elise Carlson on next time. Who knows? And then she'll have to be on camera for an hour. No ducking that.
Yeah. All right. Have a great night, Carl. Take care.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right. Carl Johnson. Always fantastic to have him on the show. Wealth of knowledge. And we had a lot of interesting experiences there back in September. So be sure to check out The Shadow Dimension when that is released. Fingers crossed next month. Trailers out there, the production stills. There will be more updates on that, and website for that is shadowdimension.com, so you can check out more information on that as well. So,
can you tell us where it's going to be released?
I don't know yet.
There's
That's up to
okay.
that's
TBD.
all on the distributor side. So, but
Okay.
it'll be streaming somewhere. So
Awesome.
absolutely. All right.
I'm
So
looking
Super
forward.
Chat Superstar this evening is Tom McNicholas. Thank you very much,
Woohoo!
Tom, for being Super Chat Superstar.
He's awesome.
Always appreciated. He is. He
Yeah.
is.
I tried doing that on my phone the other night, and I was just like, oh, okay, Mike's live. That's it. That's all I can do. I've got to go back.
Yeah, I did a little live on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel, and then a couple of the Facebook pages, just to kind of give an update for what's going to be going on this spring and summer and into the fall, since the events are starting to kick back up. So we
That's
talked
what
a
it
little bit
was.
about the Shadow Dimension there as well. So
You're busy. Get a calendar.
what is it? Adam Tillery, spoiler alert from Oak Island. No spoiling here. No spoils.
They all died. Yeah.
Yeah, because I won't be able to watch that for like a couple more days. It's usually the way it works out, is I don't usually get around to it till the end of the week. So, all right. So
years
let's get to
behind.
the shout outs and everything. Want to thank Alina, of course, for moderating the chat and tossing me all the questions. I know there were a couple more questions that were out there, and I do apologize that we weren't able to get to all of them. But we only have an hour, and we went over. So,
Oops. Oh,
yeah, it happens.
I love listening to Carl. He's
Oh,
just
yeah.
he's a great storyteller.
He really is. He really is. Yeah. He's done a lot of stuff with well, like you said, he was part of the, Dark Shadows group there, but he's also done a lot of H.P. Lovecraft stuff too.
Ooh.
So yeah. When they've like gone to the grave and they've done readings and
Right.
things like that. Yeah, he's done that stuff. So that was one of the
I'll have some
places that
chat.
we visited when we were out there, or when I was out there visiting in Rhode Island in the falls. We went to the H.P. Lovecraft grave.
I remember seeing that picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have nothing fun like that here. But, oh well. You have all the fun.
You have plenty to do in Texas. Come on now.
I dodged a wildfire all weekend,
Dodged a wildfire. Yeah, there's definitely that. So
I did.
all right,
It was
let's
about
get to
6 miles.
yeah. So but
Yes.
everything's cool. It's nice.
I think it's put out now. It was only
It's
100
it's totally
acres.
put on now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So so our guest next weekend, Dr. and I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, Dr. Terje Simonson. He's going to be coming on and talk about telepathy, clairvoyance, and its relationship to the paranormal.
Ooh.
So that will be a very interesting next week. So be sure to join us. And all right, so shout outs. We got Betty Lange in the house. Candy Orton, thank you very much for joining us. Haunted Road Media's Fairy Queen, Diane Hilbert, and Helen Espinosa. And Diane is right there in Rhode Island, so she's extremely familiar with a lot of the places we were talking about tonight. Helen Espinosa's in the house. Jill Nimchinsky as well. There's Joy. Thank you for joining us once again. Lenora Martinez, thank you as well. Robert Hanna, thank you as always. Sarah Falvey, thanks for joining us again. Stacy Comiskey, thanks for joining us tonight. There's Christopher Stanton from Stanton's Journeys. Tammy Heitzman is with us tonight as well. Thank you, Tammy. TFT Tarot for today. Thank you as well. And Tracy Christian. That's who's in the participants tab. Now I get to scroll through the whole list and see who else is there. And yeah, Diane, Swan Point Cemetery. That's where Lovecraft's grave is at. Yep. Which that cemetery, aside from the Lovecraft grave, is beautiful. There's so many wonderful, monuments and stones there, and yeah, we couldn't stay for too long the day that we were there, but beautiful place.
Yeah, we have one place like that in Houston that all the rich and famous and historical are at. It's just gorgeous, but it's on a hill.
Oh, here in Cleveland, we have Lakeview. There's a president there.
President
I think it's
Lakeview?
Garfield that's there.
Oh.
No, yeah, President Lakeview. I think it's Garfield that's there. But like John D. Rockefeller's there.
Oh.
Elliot Ness. Is
Oh,
there
wow.
there. Yeah.
Well, we have Howard Hughes. So
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
his family.
The thing I love about Lakeview is it has like the hill. I have family that's buried there, and in the back side of that hill where my family's at is like this whole mausoleum city.
Ooh.
It's like all
Oh,
these
wow.
mausoleums, and it makes like a little town. It's really cool.
Oh, wow.
So,
That sounds interesting. Mm.
oh, it's awesome. So,
Anyway.
John Moran he says, yes, Lakeview Cemetery. So shout out to John. Let's see who else is in here that I may have missed for shout outs. I'm trying to scroll. That's right. Yeah. Pungai Fungi. Yes, Pungai Fungi was in here earlier. I'm not seeing her now in the list, but
She got the
she was in
mirror.
earlier.
That's what it was.
Yeah, yep.
She's in the
Nick
mirror.
Boulay joined
Oh,
us,
hey,
so
Nick.
great to see you, Nick. EEQQ, Dark Horse Paranormal Productions was here as well.
Oh, hi.
Yeah. Let's see who else we had. I'm gonna wrap it up here, I think. Yep. All right. So thank you all very, very much for joining us this evening. Be sure to check out Beyond the Shadows tomorrow night. Go through the Connected Universe here. I'll put the link on the banner here. ConnectedUniversePortal.com to get to the live stream information for Beyond the Shadows. That's tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern. The audio podcast will be out later in the week. But to get to the live stream show, participate in the chat and all that, you have to go through ConnectedUniversePortal.com. So,
Is there a topic?
all right, everybody.
Topic for
I will divulge the topic tomorrow. So
okay.
So be on the lookout on my on Facebook and all that stuff. So
Okay.
all right. And
Cool.
Punga says she's still here. Okay.
Hey,
So
keep
there
on,
you
guys.
go. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us once again. And we'll see you again soon.
Night.